Jungkook POV. Mark thought it was a good idea for us to find something fun to do while he was preparing his favorite Russian dish. But Yugyeom's kind of fun? Definitely not fun for me. Why? Because I was the one getting hurt. I dodged a punch that was aimed at me, but didn't see the next one flying straight at my face. Ouch! I yelled, placing my hand on my bottom lip. It was bleeding. Hey, take it easy on him! Taehyung shouted at his brother, his eyes locking onto my bruised lip with concern. Sorry, Cuckoo, but you need to practice this. Besides, you said I shouldn't go easy on you. Yugyeom replied with a slight shrug, though he did look a little guilty. I'll handle you later, Taehyung said through clenched teeth before pulling me out of the training room by the wrist. It's a good thing I didn't let him near a gun. Probably Jihoon was right, he muttered as we headed upstairs. Earlier, Jihoon had told them I didn't need training, that I was in a safe place, surrounded by professionals who would protect me. I don't think he would have shot me, Taehyung. He was just lost in the moment, I said gently, trying to calm him down. That doesn't mean he should hit you, especially not my baby boy. He looked down at me and kissed my forehead. No one had ever protected me like this since Appa died. I tried brushing off his words, but my chest felt warm. He carried me to the bathroom and lifted me onto the counter, even though my legs worked just fine. Not that I was going to complain. He left and returned with an ice pack. Just hold it against it, babe, he said, placing it in my hand. Is it that bad? I asked. I really didn't want to walk around with a swollen lip, but it was too late. I could already feel it puffing up. He cupped my cheeks and pressed a soft kiss to the bruised spot. The bleeding stopped, and the swelling will go down as soon as I take care of you. Okay? He said, looking up at me. I smiled and nodded. Okay? He pulled out a small tube from the first aid kit, squeezed some ointment onto a piece of cotton, and dabbed it gently on my lip. Then he stuck a tiny white band-aid over the bruise and leaned in again, kissing it softly. Better, Taehyung said. Much better, I replied, wrapping my arms around his neck. He lifted me off the counter and kissed my cheek. You are so adorable, he said as he carried me through the door like I weighed nothing. I'll make sure Yugyeom pays for hurting my babe. No, Taehyung, don't, I said, looking up into his beautiful eyes. He already apologized. Besides, he's your younger brother. You should be protecting him, not bullying him. He gently placed me on the king-size bed and hovered over me. He should be protecting you. Besides, we're brothers, Jungkook. That's what we do. We drive each other crazy. That's how we show love. The hard way? I asked, staring up at him. I didn't really need an answer. I'd seen them go at each other like rivals. He smiled and nodded. Yeah, maybe a little brother or sister figure would be good for him. He'd learn how to treat people better. Like you. He has his mom. I'm sure he knows how too. I placed my palms on his cheeks. Trust me, Jungkook. If he did, he wouldn't have hit you. He leaned down and pecked my lips over and over, drawing a huge smile onto my face. I'd never gotten this much attention before, especially from someone so handsome. I couldn't help but feel special. Just then, there was a knock on the door. Lovebirds, dinner is ready, Mark's voice called from outside. Such a mood kill. Taehyung groaned and stood up to help me up. Come on. I took his hand and led him out of the room. Not with much force, though. He clearly enjoyed it when I led the way. As soon as we entered the dining room, I'm sorry, bro. Yugyeom immediately stood and apologized again. It's okay, Yugyum. And don't worry, Taehyung won't beat your face in. Isn't that right, Taehyung? I said, glancing at the man beside me who was still glaring. Yeah, fine. Won't hurt you. He mumbled reluctantly. Yugyum let out a breath and took a seat. Who's ready for my chicken and pelmeni? Mark announced. Pelmeni? Russian dumplings. We chatted through dinner. Mark's cooking was incredible, and I found myself smiling often. He told us he picked up cooking as a hobby, shared stories about his army days, and even opened up about his family. He's 45, and his sister Jungkook is studying to be a college professor. Ji-hoon, his son, is 27 and lost his mother to cancer 4 years after he was born. Yu-gyeom was born 3 months early, and everyone thought he wouldn't survive. But he did. Taehyung doesn't eat cheese, and his favorite ice cream is cookies and cream. Mark was like a father figure to the brothers, and I was grateful they had someone to lean on. Sitting with these 4 men, I couldn't be happier. I was glad I left that night with Taehyung, who turned out to be nothing like I had feared. Days passed since we arrived in Russia. It felt like Hyunwoo had vanished off the face of the earth. But Taehyung didn't drop his guard. His men stayed alert, knowing Hyunwoo was still out there. Eventually, days became weeks, and weeks turned into 1 month and 4 days. Exactly that long since we'd last heard from Hyunwoo. And since Taehyung had asked me to be his boyfriend. He'd been busy trying to track Hyunwoo, and we still hadn't been on a real date. I rarely even saw him. Mostly it was just Yu-gyeom, or sometimes Mark, who kept me company. One day, I was in our room, admiring a wall of family photos that Jungkook had collected, when there was a knock on the door. "It's open," I called, expecting Yu-gyeom. But it was his older brother. Taehyung walked in with a soft smile and pulled me into a warm embrace, placing a kiss on my forehead. "Hey, beautiful. Are you happy to see me?" His voice was soft, teasing, but his eyes were searching mine, like he was desperate for the answer to be yes. "I don't know if I should be happy or angry. I haven't seen you in a week." I crossed my arms and tried to sound mad, but the relief of seeing him again was too strong to hide. "I'm sorry, Jungkook. We finally found Paul and were tracking him. It just took a while." He ran a hand through his hair and looked down for a moment, guilt flashing across his face. "I really missed you." His smile was contagious. I couldn't resist smiling back, even if I was still a little mad. "I missed you too." The words came out softer than I expected, but they held more weight than any accusation I could have thrown at him. "Where's a Yu-gyeom?" He sat up straighter, resting his elbows on his knees. "Last I saw, he went somewhere with Mark." "Why?" I tilted my head curiously, but he didn't answer. "Come here." There was something in his tone, something familiar and magnetic, that pulled me toward him before I even knew I was moving. "Closer, babe." I stepped between his legs, feeling the heat radiate from him good. He wrapped his arms around my waist and pulled me onto his lap, like it was the most natural thing in the world. The moment our lips met, everything around us disappeared. The tension melted away with each kiss, each press of his lips against mine. "I want to make it up to you," he whispered, his forehead resting against mine. He began playing with a strand of my hair, twirling it between his fingers. "Really? How are you going to do that?" I asked, trying to lighten the mood, though my heart was thudding in my chest. I was already feeling better just being near him. "My mum left me her beach house. I want to take you there for a few days." I grinned before I could stop myself. My eyes widened with excitement. When do we leave? Because there was nothing I needed more than that. Him, me, and a quiet place where the world couldn't touch us. 2 days later, we arrived at the beach house, and it was breathtaking. The moment I saw it, I felt my heart swell. A cozy one-story, painted a warm sunny yellow, standing proudly against the backdrop of clear skies and crashing waves. Inside, there were 5 bedrooms, a cozy kitchen with white cabinets, a bathroom and a separate washroom, and a bright, airy living room. The beach was right out front, just a few steps from the porch. I could already imagine us walking barefoot on the sand under the moonlight. While Taehyung unpacked groceries in the kitchen, I explored the house. Art lined the walls, flowers, nature, and even a giant seashell hanging above the black couch in the living room. I didn't want to leave. I was reading a framed quote on the wall. In the waves of change, we find our direction. When I felt warm arms around my waist. Do you like it here? His voice rumbled softly, laced with hope. I love it, Taehyung. Can we stay here like this? Forever? I whispered, turning my head slightly to catch a glimpse of him. I meant it. Here, everything felt safe. Real. He chuckled, a low melodic sound that vibrated against my back. I wish things were that easy, babe. But I promise, one day it will be just like this. I turned in his arms, looking up into his eyes. I leaned in and kissed him, pouring every unspoken word into that moment. I think I loved him. Come on, he said after pulling away, his fingers lacing with mine. He gave me that breathtaking smile I didn't ask where. I just followed. We stepped outside onto the warm sand, where a checkered blanket was spread out and a picnic basket sat in the center. The sky was painted in hues of orange and pink, the sun slowly sinking into the ocean. The breeze was cool, and the sound of the waves was the only music we needed. It was perfect. A picnic on the beach with Taehyung, the perfect date.